Good afternoon, friends, and welcome back again to Autumn Cottage. I was going to do some work in the garden this morning, but it's a bitterly cold day outside, so I thought I might bring you into the kitchen here and show you one of my favourite parts of the kitchen. Actually, it's my dresser, which, as you can see, is absolutely covered in blue and white china. And you won't be surprised to know that I'm a complete blue and white addict. And I thought you might like to actually see some of the things that are on these shelves. Now, one of the major jobs that I have to do, and I admit it's only every year, or perhaps every 6 months that I do it, is to get all the china off and give it all a good wash. It does get very dusty. And I've decided that now is the time. We have all this spare time. So what I'll be doing is taking all the china off, washing it, and then putting it back up on the shelves. I thought it might be an idea to share some of the individual pieces with you as I do that, and I can tell you a little bit about them. Almost everything that's on there is of absolutely no monetary value whatsoever. In fact, I've acquired most of it from my very favourite place, which I think a lot of you will already know, is Hungerford Arcade and all the charity shops that are around Newbury. We're very lucky, very well endowed with charity shops, although how they must be suffering quite considerable hardship at the moment. It really is very concerning. I've actually realised that cleaning the shelves, taking everything down, washing it, putting it back, does actually take me the best part of a couple of days. So rather than make you wait that long, what I will do is just take individual items off these shelves and show you just a few of them, and then you can just see what sorts of interesting things I've found over the years. You'll notice also that not only have I got a lot of blue and white china on the shelves, but I have part of my collection of Staffordshire pottery figures also there. This is part of the collection. The rest of it is in another room, which I will show you later. Now, this is a nice little item. This is a little plant pot holder, about 6 inches high. Looks like the sort of china that Spode produced, but in fact this is produced by Pratt and is entitled Pratt's Country Scenery. And there's something interesting going on down here. I think what's happening is that the fisherman's been out on his boat and somebody is doing a deal and actually buying some of the fish there. Can you see? Regarding what I was telling you earlier about there being no value to any of these things, as you can see, there is quite a big chip on the edge of this pot, but when it's turned around, nobody can see that, so who cares? Don't know if you've ever seen one of these items before, whether you may or may not know what it is. These are called pap boats. You can see they have a little handle on the side and a guard across half the cup. They're actually used for feeding invalids and perhaps small children, and that guard stops the interior contents pouring out. This is actually a pattern from the Royal Copenhagen factory, very distinctive, and again perhaps about 4 or 5 inches long. I'll just turn it round so you can see the other side and that very pretty pattern. Because I have such an interest in miniatures, I've got a little collection here of miniature blue and white items. You can see I have part of a doll's tea set there, a little tiny Toby jug, and some pieces of Spode, some little tiny Spode drinking mugs, and most of those are not much bigger than perhaps 1.5 inches. I'll show you much more of my miniatures collection at a later time. Now I know very well that I am certainly not alone in my passion for blue and white, and if any of you follow the Chateau Diaries on YouTube, vlogs made by Stephanie Jarvis, who lives in the Chateau de la Lande in France. She is one of the number of British people who now run businesses in their own chateau in France, following on from the very successful series with Angel and Dick Strawbridge, Escape to the Chateau. But Stephanie has her own wonderful blogs, which she produces a couple of times a week. And in fact, one of those was actually featuring blue and white china. She shows you her own dresser and her own collection of blue and white china. I'll put a link in the description below, and I think you'll find it very entertaining to go and look at some of Stephanie's work, and you'll find it's a lot more professional than mine. As always, friends, if you think anybody else would enjoy looking at these little videos, please pass the link on to them. And if you've enjoyed watching it, please give me a thumbs up, and hopefully you might like to subscribe to my channel. Turn on notifications if you do, and then you'll make sure you don't miss any others. Thanks a lot. Okay, I've just popped into the library. I promised I'd show you a few more pieces of Staffordshire before I go. This is yet another one of my collections, dotted all around the house. Here are just some of the items made in the Staffordshire potteries in the 19th century, very inexpensive items. I've got a lot more of these, and I'll save these to show you for another time, but for now, bye from Autumn Cottage, and I'll talk to you again soon.